Welcome to episode 5 of One Question, where we explore the elephant in the room connected with the work we bring into the world. These are conversations about the misperceptions people have with our work, sometimes from the conversations we have in our own mind, in our head, what we've been taught, or societal norms. I'm Stephanie McAuliffe, your host, an energy alchemist and boundary strategist and founder of The Way of the Diamond Warrior. I guide leaders to build a business that's a reflection of their soul's calling. Today, we're joined by Ramona Kossowan. Ramona is a women's empowerment coach who specializes in the gentle trauma release method, fitness, and mindful eating to help women feel deeply at peace in their bodies. She specializes in guiding women through major life transitions by working with the nervous system to release survival patterns, quiet food noise, and rebuild lasting self-trust so they can revitalize and fall in love with themselves again. Welcome, Ramona.
Thanks so much.
It's great to have you here with us. So tell us more about the work that you do and what is that elephant in the room, the misperception that you would like to take a bite out of today regarding this important work you bring to the world?
Well, over the years, my work has really evolved. So at the start, emerging as a side hustling working mom to where I am today, there was layers built more along the lines of holistic health, wellness. At times, I coached a holistic weight loss program, adding in fitness, empowerment coaching, and then most recently, gentle trauma release coaching. And I find the elephant in the room is quite often where we see the problem. So the problem might be, oh, I'm a people pleaser, or oh, I just love food too much, or oh, I don't have time for myself, or all the labels that we attach to all our problems. I do find that there's always needing to be consideration of, is your unconscious nervous system protecting you here? Because it's going to override everything you want to do. It's very powerful. It's very safety driven. And unless we get under that, that's where we kind of go into looping circles of, frustration of something that doesn't align with our best selves, or at points maybe feeling stuck. So this is where I like to get underneath. And I do find too often the big misconception is people assume trauma is only very specific things. And you have to be depressed or a hot mess or have gone through very specific horrible things, which a lot of women have, unfortunately, but they might minimalize it. But it's just not the case. So if we normalize getting underneath trauma in an embodied way, the path is cleared for those next big juicy steps that we want to take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I find that everything we're not able to express verbally, physically, gets held within the body.
So
And
much.
it does manifest out in how we eat, how we think, the way we dress, what we do. What's the biggest challenge you find that the clients coming, these women that are coming to you, have with stepping into this journey?
I find often it's not being able to make themselves a priority as part of their non-negotiable. So there might be elements where they're performing and achieving and doing, but are they truly treating themselves like they really, really matter all of the time? Like we have different life stages, of course, that demand more of us, but by the time people get in midlife like me, that crumbles like a deck of cards and you're like, what the heck happens? Like, actually, this has been building up for 25 years now. And here we are. And your body's saying, no more. So this is where I like to get curious about what's underneath. What's driving that?
So how do you get them to begin to, and it's not really getting them, but what helps move the needle for them to begin to prioritize their own self-care?
Sometimes trauma needs to be addressed because of the identity that we formed to survive. So if you learned unconsciously that performing and shape shifting, minimizing your needs was a safety mechanism, this is not conscious, this is not logic based, and it's going to override. So sometimes I find just getting underneath that and releasing it. So, for example, I have a woman I'm working with on fitness and mindful eating, and she was open to doing some trauma work at the forefront, knowing that she was having some of those same struggles, making herself a priority and liking looking after herself, right? And in the process, I saw fear leave her body from when she was 4 years old. She's been carrying this fear from 4 years old. She's in her 50s. Okay. You cannot replace the power of that experience. And the other thing is practice. We don't just wake up and decide I'm the priority. That's not typical. So we have to practice, and start with something that's within your reach.
I find sometimes too that we think of trauma as these big things, but trauma is, and Gabor Mate talks about this, it's trauma is actually really the thing that isn't processed beyond the big T trauma.
Yeah.
And so, yes, the fact that you saw fear leave this woman's body that she'd been holding since she was 4 and maybe even younger is amazing, because trauma teaches us that it's not safe to focus on ourselves.
Yes, and I think it's helpful to remember with compassion and love that our body is wise, and all of the protective mechanisms it has are based on the wisdom of the body protecting, but just they don't serve us as an empowered woman to live in those patterns, like unless you're in the middle of something that needs to be addressed. But it's bringing the two together, bringing those parts home, loving the home, and it is a process, right? So you and your woman energy, I teach about woman energy and empowerment coaching, is you taking that little girl to you. You are the caregiver and the provider and the protector and the boundary setter. You're the one who's equipped. And it's a practice. You're going to collapse sometimes into old ways. It's okay. It's a practice, and you'll start to embody your woman energy more as you just continue to choose it.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. I think part of the reason why, 10 years or so ago, when Danielle Laporte and the Desire Map was so big, was how do you want to feel? So many of us have been taught that it's not safe to feel. We shut off our feelings. It's not safe to go there. And many of the people that were raising us were telling us to just ignore it. It doesn't matter. You can't change the past. So it's been conditioned into us, not only through the generational trauma that's passed down, but by the people who raised us. And then our experiences, it's like a triple whammy of your feelings don't matter, and it's not safe to feel them. So I love this work that you're doing and empowering women of, yes, it is safe. Yes, it does need to be felt, because this is how we change the world, and the world is asking for us to create something different than what we've been living in for millennia.
Yeah, and I had to go through this myself. Like I went through the period of being able to let my armor down, and I had to do the same deep rooted healing to be able to let my armor down and be seen, and realize that it's a strength to be seen with vulnerability, sensitivity. It's not a character flaw, like all the things I dismissed and judged about myself because they didn't seem safe in my environment are my gifts. I'm still not an open book. I don't just let everybody in, but it's more about I can be me and soften into all of those parts. And that's my power. It's not weakness.
And I think that's what women want. They want someone who's walking their talk. There's all this stuff about AI therapy, but no. We want real human beings with real experiences who have moved through what it is that they're offering, because this is how we know that it may not be exactly the same, and yet we all experience trauma. We've all had struggles, and we're looking for the people who are going to help guide us through the similarities of our journey.
Yeah, like ultimately at the core of it is still the common emotions of guilt and shame. We may not call it that consciously, but it's basically saying who I am is flawed and what I do isn't good enough. And as long as that's driving the bus, we're not in our empowered place, and there's an opportunity there perhaps for some healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I will mention too, like with the AI and stuff. I mean, I use AI but, for different things, but there's power in being witnessed by a safe human. Like the woman I was mentioning, she was not able to even access or be aware of what she was carrying and how it was driving the bus without obviously safe protocols, but also this safe human witness to be present. And that's powerful.
And I'm not dissing AI, I use it as well. And yet, AI is not a coach, it's not a therapist, it's not someone or something that is going to lead us out of what it is we've internalized for sometimes 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That safe humanity is often what we so desperately need. We need to connect to our humanity when we had to stuff it down.
Yes. No more stuffing.
No stuffing.
No more stuffing. And this is where, the Native Americans say that when we as individuals heal, we heal 7 generations back and 7 forward.
I've heard references like that too. I don't know. I haven't done a deep dive on that, but I think when we heal ourselves, it ripples in ways that we will never know how it's changed many aspects of other people's lives and our own when we heal.
Yeah, and we don't have to know. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
We can let go. We don't have to hold on to life with an iron-fisted grip.
No, and that was me white knuckling, right? So sometimes you got to kind of pry those fingers open and let them kind of.
And as you said, it's a journey. It's an opening. It's when you look at a flower that is blooming, it doesn't automatically go from seed to 1,000 petals.
Yeah, you can't pry that sucker open either. It's going to be on its own good time.
Right. And if you try to, it won't bloom.
Exactly.
And spirit will never bring us more than we're ready for. Yeah. So as we wrap this up, is there some final words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, what I think is so valuable is sometimes to just take a pause, get out of your head, get back in your body in some way that feels good to you. Sometimes it's just getting your hands in the dirt or cooking in the kitchen or getting in nature or moving. And just ask yourself, what do I need? Like if it didn't make me a bad person, if it didn't make me selfish, if no one else was hurt or affected, what do I need? And reflect a little bit, because sometimes it's just we get an autopilot of not even reflecting on what we need.
And when we ask, we'll be given the answer.
It may not be what you want to hear, and it will take a practice to respond, but even just little steps within your reach start to create little shifts. And I find any woman, when she starts doing something good for herself, whether it's like I do things with fitness and food, and like if she starts making positive steps in those areas, other things change with it because she starts changing.
Yeah.
So every good thing you do for yourself actually starts to snowball.
It does, absolutely. And Ramona, you have an amazing gift, which is a free guide that helps you identify which internal archetype has been driving your patterns and how to reconnect with the woman you're becoming. So this is something, the link for it will be down in the notes, as well as Ramona is one of the co-authors of Confident You, the Raw Conversations. And so her chapter in the book is amazing as well. And thank you for being here today and for having this conversation and sharing so generously with folks who are listening in.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.